¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. Welcome, everybody. How's it going? Michael Hathler, A-Bond, Alio, Bipedal Meatbag, Maple Leaf Dragon, Echo Resto Dragon. Welcome, everybody. Howdy. It is indeed Monday once again. We've got quite a few things to go through. Let me make sure. All right. Cool. Welcome, everybody. I wish the weekend was a little bit longer. But here we are. First things first. Elon Musk. Elon Musk. Goblin mode, true. It's been chill inside and out for me. Yeah, it's a bit chilly. It's gonna get even colder later in the week. Alio with the 10 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So as is obligatory, we have to laugh at Elon Musk, okay? Can we go one day without talking about Elon? Apparently not. No, but this is to make fun of him, so I think that's kind of like a thing that you're supposed to do. It's like a moral imperative that if there's an opportunity to make fun of Elon Musk, you should take it. True. Yeah, exactly. Elon. So apparently, at a Dave Chappelle show, of all things, Dave Chappelle decided that he was going to introduce Elon Musk, and it turns out that he wasn't very popular. Who would have thought? And not only that, but Dave Chappelle decided to like double down and quadruple down on just basically laughing at the idea of poor people, or people that can't afford, like, you know, the closest seats and whatnot. In other words, just trying to be like as classist as possible. After a while, it's like kicking a puppy. So pathetic. True. But he's not a puppy. All right. This emote is kind of funny. Why not nurses and firefighters and people that help? Well, in the news, yeah, those make the news sometimes.
Make some noise for the richest man in the world.
Like the idea that, like, first of all, he introduces Elon as like the richest man in the world. Kind of cringe, dude. It's not exactly whatever. Dave Chappelle's an NIMBY, we already knew that. True. And like the copium that Elon had trying to say that it wasn't like a lot of booze. When we can clearly hear the crowd. The copium. Not so much lately with the current value of his stocks. Oh yeah, his stocks, or his Tesla company has slowly been in the decline. Because, you know, Elon. I bet there were a few people that Elon fired. Yeah, and like I don't know if that's true or not. Perhaps. But Dave Chappelle went on and made fun of that anyways. Dave Chappelle went on and made fun of it anyways. So it's like really, it's really just more of like the classism of Dave Chappelle, more than anything at the heart of this as well. With like the cherry on top of like being able to laugh at Elon. That's basically what this is.
Cheers and booze, I see. Elon. Hey, Dave.
And it's like you can hear like the continuing boos and whatnot. They're like obviously way more than the cheers. Like obviously, we can hear it. We have ears.
Weren't expecting this, were you? It sounds like some of them people you fired are in the audience.
Like, and then he makes like a joke like that. Like, fuck you, dude. Yeah, you can kind of hear it. But it's very obvious that the overwhelming like reception is just like booze. This was in San Francisco, so it is a good possibility. Yeah, it's quite possible.
Hey, wait a minute. Those of you booing.
You can hear it. It's like a consistent boo. They're still booing.
Tough road ahead, like sounds like. But you notice one thing, all those people are booing, And I'm just pointing out the obvious. You have terrible seats. And I understand.
Yeah, and then he makes that
Way
joke.
up there, nigga, the last minute. Now I'm playing the niggas. Boo. Boo. Listen.
I'm surprised Elon hasn't memed this. Like, what do you mean memed this? Like, his immediate response was to attempt to huff a severe amount of copium and say something to the effect of like, oh, it was 90% cheers. That was his response. "90% cheers." Yeah, okay, dude. Yeah, sure, buddy. Does he not expect us to have does he not expect us to have like ears and like listen to the video evidence? 90% cheers. That's hilarious. Yeah, and if that was his response, my dude needs to check himself into a hospital. Yeah, or maybe he needs like maybe he needs to get his ears checked or something. Who knows? I mean, I've got bad hearing. I've got bad hearing, but even then, I'm quite capable of discerning the overwhelming amount of boos. Too many arrogant people and what to platform Chappelle and Musk and yeah, well, I don't know if like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I guess. I don't know. We'll talk about her in a second. But yeah, maybe Elon needs to check his ears, you know? Elon seems like Trump, too many social media. He has a social media company. He is a social media company. And clearly you can see the results of that. Yeah. Cool. Elon doesn't really run in either of those. Elon doesn't really run either of those. There you have it. Smartest person on planet Earth, huh? A literal deity. Anyways, it was a pretty good meme. Pretty good meme. If there's aliens out there, please conquer us. That's funny. But yeah, this is the copium we're going with after the fact. the conclusion, if you will. Anyways, good memes. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Elon Musk, for providing us with some good memes. And if you heard 90% cheers and 10% boos, I would definitely recommend to get your ears cleaned. Or checked out, who knows. Good memes. All right. Serious stuff. Actual news, all right? Actual news. So, for those of you that don't know, I suspect that all of you by this point in time already know that Kirsten, girl boss, I will vote down minimum wage increases, Sinema. While curtsying, I will vote down minimum wage increases, Sinema has decided to leave the Democratic Party and causing a little bit of upheaval. Well, Bernie Sanders says Kyrsten Sinema helped sabotage key legislators. The popular progressive U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders would consider supporting any Democrat who might mount a challenge against his chamber colleague Kyrsten Sinema after she left the party and declared herself independent, like him arguing that she's helped sabotage some of the Congress's most important legislation. Nice! Thanks! Now that this is something that we didn't have suspicions of, but it's nice to know, it's nice to confirm that. Sanders' comments on Sunday in CNN's State of Union added to the chorus of detractors against the Arizona lawmaker who has undermined the agenda of Joe Biden, White House, and other progressives by including by voting down the minimum wage to $15 an hour while doing a little curtsy. While doing a curtsy. And reforming the filibuster so that voting right legislations can pass. The independent from Vermont, who votes in line with the Democratic interests, told the show host Dana Bash that the left-wing party's members in Arizona were not all enthusiastic about somebody who helped sabotage some of the most important legislation that protects the interests of working families and voting rights and so forth. And Sanders also added that if Arizona Democrats eventually ran someone to challenge the newly declared independent, I would take a hard look at supporting that candidate, though there are some concern, some are concerned that hopeful could unwittingly give Republicans an opening. I support progressive candidates all over this country, people who have the guts to take on special interests, adding that he wasn't interested in speaking much more on Sinema. I don't know what's going to be happening in Arizona, but we will see who they nominate. In a separate pre-recorded interview, which also aired on Sunday at the State of the Union, Sinema continued defending her defection from Democrats as a stand against being beholden to party interests. Well, it's not just like party interest or whatever. It's the corporate interest, okay? It's the corporate interest. That's the problem here. But whatever. I know this is really hard for a lot of folks, especially on Capitol Hill, but what's important to me is not to be tethered by partisanship that dominates politics today. I want to remove some of that poison from our politics, and I want to get back to actually just working on the issues, working together, and trying to solve some of these challenges. Well, then, if that was the case, if that was the case, then where the fuck were you when you had the opportunity to give people of this country a higher minimum wage? For one. Yes, Wall Bottle. If that was the case and that was the reasoning, where were you when the Democratic Party needed support for the Build Back Better? And the Build Back Better plan wasn't even like a radical plan to begin with. Where were you? Yeah, those words cannot come out of her mouth, not her. True. She knows she wouldn't survive a primary, so she's going to go into lobbying. Yep. Fantasy from Sinema, no popcorn. Yeah, and well, This is quite frankly frustrating. Sinema's departure from the Democrats came after the party had just succeeded in getting every one of their senators reelected for the first time since 1934 after Raphael Warnock retained his seat in on the 6th of December. Right, like, it's also incredibly convenient that she decides to peace out right as the Democratic Party manages to get 51 seats, which means that they would have, theoretically on paper, they would have the ability to have a little bit more control of committees and whatnot, just a little bit more power, so to speak. And she just, like, yeeted that out the window. Well, thanks. Warnock's victory over Republican challenger Herschel Walker, combined with a Pennsylvania seat flipping to Dems, left his party thinking it had a clear one-seat majority in the upper congressional chamber. It had spent the last 2 years with a 50-50 split, which Vice President Kamala Harris broke ties in the Dems' favor. She's still part of the Democratic caucus, so it doesn't really affect anything in the Senate. Is she part of, like, the Democratic caucus? Did she, like, commit to that, or is that, like, Warnock is here, Sinema may not be needed? No, she still is. That's the problem, because if not, we're back to square one. It's like, she did this to, in the interview she did? Okay. 51 to 40. Yes, I know the end result of that. I'm asking if, like, whether or not this is going to affect the, makeup of how that works. That's what I was asking. Sinema, who entered politics as a Green Party member and anti-war activist, said she didn't intend to caucus with the Republicans, but she's been vague about whether she would cooperate with Dems in the way that Sanders and fellow independent Senator Angus King do. Right. Like, that's the issue here. This is the problem. Right here. Sinema has supported key Biden administration agenda items, including bills aimed at reducing inflation, protecting the rights to gay marriage, and increasing restrictions to high-powered guns. But, where were you when you know, supposedly, how far have we come, you know, from being a Green Party anti-war activist to now? Her votes against minimum wage and Senate filibuster reform, issues that were clear to the Dems, have earned her scorn from many progressives. She and centrist, conservative West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, who has taken similar stands, are often mentioned in the same breath. That's interesting. Sinema announced her switch after a Democratic member of House of Representatives from Arizona, Ruben Gallego, had started interviewing paid media firms for 2024, which observers interpreted as a meaningful step forward towards launching an inter-party primary challenge. So she's basically trying to avoid a primary? Okay. Pundits believe that Democrats could risk splitting the votes with Sinema if they run someone against her, giving Republicans an opportunity to flip that seat during an election that would unfold at the same time as the next presidential race. Yeah, so she's, like, basically hamstringing them. Cool. Good memes. So, in other words, we have to, essentially to depend on, hopefully, maybe she actually sides with the Democratic Party. Otherwise, it's just ceding this ground to the Republicans. Cool. Another perk to save her, but if she can't vote with the Dems, yeah. LA runoff today. Oh yeah, if you haven't already, and you live in Los Angeles or know anybody in Los Angeles, go vote. Which is exactly the same as she's been for the past couple of years. True. Lawmakers should prepare for a 1-week funding stopgap as negotiations continue. Wait, what? For what? Negotiations for Her? The debt ceiling? Oh. Oh, the funding for government. Gotcha. Well, that's not really much of a choice. They have to get that done. So, it's just a matter of what ends up, you know, being in that funding bill. Anyways, Kirsten Cinema, girl boss. Cool. Thanks. Thanks for nothing. The House and Senate are expected to pass a short-term extension to avert a shutdown, which would give negotiators more time to try and secure a broader full-year funding deal. Gotcha. All right, switching gears really quickly. The Keystone Pipeline. Yes. The infamous Keystone Pipeline has had yet another leak. Ultimus Frizzle, how's it going? Welcome. Bop Dragon, hope you're well. I can't be bothered to give a shit about cinema. There's much more important shit going on like this. True. True. The only reason, like, any of this even matters is because, like, if there was a situation where, like, you know, the Senate is put, like, if something important is put in front of the Senate, like, you know, the way the senators vote or don't vote matter, like, that's basically, like, my, the only reason any of this matters. But yeah, absolutely. We're going to cover, this shit, 100%. Still mad I had to choose between her and Martha McSally. Sheesh. Twitch politics noob. Uh-oh. Welcome. I see two forces at work here. Cinema wants to maintain the senator with all the attention status, and she would never have done this without the express permission of donor masters. That's a good point. Well, that's definitely part of the equation, yeah? How far have we come from Green Party anti-war activists to this? All right, folks, the Keystone Pipeline. This is something that we've talked about throughout the years. In fact, it was one of our early coverage. Throughout the years, the Keystone Pipeline has had not only numerous controversies, and by controversies, I mean it's fucked up, but numerous ecological disasters, and we've covered almost all of them as far as I've seen them. We've covered them. I think she has a better chance of re-election this way, probably. Probably. I think it's so that she doesn't have to worry about a primary. Yeah, that's what the article was implying. That may be the case. That's seemingly what the implication was. Yes. But yes, the Keystone Pipeline, something that we've been talking about for quite some time, has leaked yet again. The EPA said there was no contamination to the water supply. I don't know how they can say that. I've seen the aerial drone footage. Yeah, I mean, like, how have they tested the water? Okay. The operator of the Keystone Pipeline system, which carries a form of crude oil from Canada to multiple states for refining, said over the weekend that its largest breach yet has been contained for now. The largest one. Cool. Nice memes. Reason number 235,550,287 quadrillion jillion why we should get away from fossil fuels and why they're so dangerous. And why, as Bup Dragon just pointed out, and Bipedal Meatbag has pointed out, and Maple Leaf Dragon has pointed out. Yeah, no kidding. Of course, this was an inevitability, and the fallout from this is an ecological disaster. It is a catastrophe, and the fact that these guys are admitting that this is the fact that these guys are admitting that it's the biggest one that they've had to contain, it's alarming. It's 100% alarming. Kowalski wrote into the MR today, and it would have been even worse, but a drought has dried up the local waterways. Sheesh. Kowalski from Nebraska is based, by the way. A pipeline failure 3 miles east of Washington, Kansas, on Wednesday caused an estimated 14,000 barrels of crude, or 588,000 gallons of a form of crude known as tar sand, which is really bad, to spill into Mill Creek, a natural waterway, according to the Pipeline and Hazardous Material Safety Administration of the U.S. Trans. How could they say that the water supply isn't compromised? Okay, whatever. Also, Keystone wasn't put together by the contractors who bid the highest either. They can't surprise Pikachu face this one. No, it's been it's not even the first time. So like, yeah, no shit. They oh, this is so frustrating. The administration has ordered the affected section of the pipeline about 160 miles north of Wichita to close until corrective action can be completed. TC Energy, the Canadian parent of the day-to-day pipeline operator TC Oil, said in a statement that the spill was no longer moving downstream. Well, cool. Thanks, dudes. It mobilized 250 crews to handle the cleanup, deployed booms and vacuum trucks to stop the oil. The EPA said in a statement that discharge has been, quote, contained and no drinking water has been impacted. Press X to doubt? But whatever. A failure along a 96-mile segment in parts of Washington County, Kansas, Clay County, Kansas, and Jefferson County, Nebraska, renews concern over pipeline safety after the demise of the contentious Keystone XL pipeline project. The proposed pipeline, which would have carried Canadian oil sands to Nebraska, polarized political leaders who mostly lined up to either kill it or make way. It was thwarted by the Obama administration, renewed by President Trump, and then nixed by President Biden. The TC Energy withdrew its plans last year. Yeah, no longer, as in, it's actually, it was. Like, what? Yeah, it's no longer, a problem. So it was. For something to be no longer a problem, the implication had to be that it was. It's easier to contain, but harder to refine. Yeah, it's not good. Not good. Tar sands are probably the worst. On the worst end. In the last 5 years, there have been at least 3 significant spills along the original Keystone pipeline system, Wednesday being the most voluminous, according to the Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration. Nice. Cool. Good memes. The pipeline regulators also noted accidents and breaches in the Keystone system in 2011, 2016, and 2020. The affected section is part of the 288-mile Cushing extension completed in 2011, which takes crude from Steel City, Nebraska to Cushing, Oklahoma. Environmentalists have argued that incidents come with such a pipeline, and they're not worth the convenience of a more direct transportation for fossil fuel in a world coming to terms with global warming caused largely by burning it. Yeah, and like, again, why? All of this, could be minimized by moving away from fossil fuels. I remember being an undergrad in disbelief that these permits were even given to the Keystone Pipeline after seeing the soil types in the reports of where they were building. The same thing with the DAPL, literally just sand between the pipelines and water reservoirs. Yep. We also covered the Dakota Access Pipeline. We did. We covered that as well. The Sierra Club said it was the 22nd time the pipeline it calls Keystone 1 has been the site of a spill, breach, or accident. There's no such thing as a safe tar sand pipeline, and this is another disaster that continues to prove that we must put our climate and communities first. Many environmental organizations want Biden to prohibit any new oil and gas infrastructure on public lands. True. It's not just like, oh, we need to do this. It's not really a option at this point. It's not. In an ideal scenario, we would be moving whatever muscle we have in terms of economic muscle and their ability to move resources, so that we use renewables. We have to stop with the fossil fuels. It just cannot continue. We're not in a position to continue down this path. I mean, every single scientific paper, research, model, you name it, they all point to the same thing. There's no room at this point in time for any new oil or any new fossil fuel infrastructure, because like once these things are built, you've locked in decades and decades of fossil fuels, right? We cannot afford that. Essentially, is really what I'm arguing. And there are 2 gas pipelines running around the river in my town, which is the main water source for my town in Houston. Sheesh. Yikes. Alan Mayberry, an associate administrator for the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, said in a letter to TC Oil executives last week that the oil companies ordered to keep the affected segment offline. Mayberry wants TC Oil to determine the root cause of the breach and name decision makers who might have contributed to the spill, according to the letter dated on Thursday. He also said that the company should repair or replace any damage or breach segments and consider whether other parts of the pipeline have similar conditions or structural issues. Yeah, I mean, this should be par for the course, but whatever. Ahead of any restart, TC must reduce pressure to 80% of what it was right before the breach, the federal pipeline regulator said. The oil spilled as the company was conducting an analysis of the conveyance nearby using an inline inspection tool. The inline inspection tool is currently downstream of the failure location. The respondent had bypassed the Hope, Kansas pump station, the next station downstream, in the preparation for the tool to pass when the failure occurred. Any possible cause and effect relationship wasn't clear. The letter also suggests that the failure involved the failed pipe joints. TC Energy said in a statement on Friday that the pipeline was being run according to the rules. At the time of the incident, the pipeline was operating within its design and regulatory approval requirements. Sure. During the tenure of President GW, TC Oil was granted special permission to use higher than standard pressure along the Cushing extension to move the thick form of crude from Canada. Damn. Just as Buff Dragon called it. They're going to try to pin it on the welders and inspectors. Maybe. I mean, it just seems like lax of regulations. One of the issues is that Canada doesn't have an economic infrastructure to move away from fossil fuels fast enough on our own. And as long as larger companies keep demanding our resources, we pretty much have to supply. Yeah, I mean, like, it's really effed up. It's really effed up, but, like, we don't have much of a choice here. You know? We don't have much of a choice. I promise I didn't read the article before this. I'm watching you. And they don't have to keep up with the infrastructure. True. Ray's Telestron. Howdy. Welcome. Bill Karam, the executive director of nonprofit Pipeline Safety Trust, told the Associated Press that the number of Keystone spills, breaches, and accidents since then should prompt the reconsideration of allowing high pressure. I think it's time to question that. Yeah, no shit. I think it's time to question fossil fuels in general. Why do we continue to move in this direction? Lots of choices, but unwillingness to deal with or confront practical consequences. I don't know what that means. I mean, there's lots of choices and alternatives. What's really maybe we're saying the same thing. What's really the problem is like the lack of political will to do what's necessary. It's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult. But the alternative is so much worse. It's really common for oil and gas companies to come and go with volatile markets, and they ride a boom until it's fizzled out and go bankrupt, and then there's no one to operate and maintain these equipments. Yep. I know how Andrew Tate will die. Okay. What? Are you okay? What? Unicorn Dragon, how's it going? What? We're talking about the Keystone Pipeline, dude. That's kind of weird. You okay? Would you like to know how? Not really. Not really. Anywho. Kind of a weird comment. Okie dokie. Anyways, Keystone Pipeline, bad. Fossil fuels, bad. The climate crisis has yet to be addressed, and we're still playing around like nothing is happening. I'm just saying. Doing okay? I'm hanging in there. We continue to do business as usual, and then surprise Pikachu face when shit like this continues to happen. So to piggyback off that, more good news, folks. Hey, remember how we kept talking about like how if nothing is done with regards to the climate crisis, and you know that's going to have a lot of domino effects, including our ability to grow food. Yeah, climate change is driving millions to the precipice of raging food catastrophe. If there's a ring around the sun, it will rain. If the good birds sing in descending notes, the skies will open. If vultures gather, the showers will begin. Everyone reads the sign, but they don't mean what they used to. It's still not raining. This is in Kenya. Jala Barako is 85, a grandfather of 8 and a member of an ancient nomadic tribe. Today, wearing a pinstrip jacket, dark glasses, and a turban-like hat, he looks proprietor of a progressive jazz club. He sits outside with a metal-walled shed that serves as a village store, the place where people come to buy provisions before heading out into this Martian-rocked landscape with their livestock to find pasture again. For generations, Barako explains that his people have slaughtered goats to read the weather forecast spelled out in their wet entrails. Now the readings are all off. The climate is changing, even in the intestines. Consistent, gentle showers over days and weeks replenish the shrubs and grasses that livestock depend on here, but it hasn't rained steadily for nearly 3 years, and there's nothing green in sight. True, there's nothing, they're not going to change because people are getting rich by not changing. True. The government has drilled boreholes, but there aren't enough of them. Herders have had to travel long distances to reach water, and then equally long distance to find any remaining pasture. When there's water, there's no pasture, and when there's even the scantiest bit of uneaten pasture left, there's no water. On this trek between one place and the other, animals crumple from exhaustion and die. Yeah. And this is like the norm, not only like in Africa, but in a lot of places too. Slowly but surely. There are places in Central and South America that are moving in this direction. We went over several stories of people literally picking up and fleeing because they cannot grow food at all. And each year it gets harder and harder and harder to the point where they've been forced to leave. And this isn't something that's going to happen. This is something that's happening now. We depend on livestock, and the ones that haven't died are so weak. In normal times, they support us. Now we support them. Livestock here, the primary source of income and nourishment. When they die, the people come next. Near the village shop, relief workers from a local aid group called Pasida distribute corn, beans, and cooking oil and salt and sugar. A water truck is scheduled to come soon, but international aid has lapsed, so it'll be they'll last for a very long time. Even with this, they won't get a meal every day. Only the most vulnerable will get a share. If there's no more help, he says, methodically consulting a checklist, people will die. What are we talking about? Impending doom. Hey. How do I close this? Continue reading. What? Really? Climate change climate change causes food deserts. True. Hold on. Let me see if I can There we go. Which part of it? All of it. The fact that as climate change continues, as we fail to address it, millions of people will start to starve. Millions of people will be unable to grow food, as it's already happening. Nearly 26 million people in the Horn of Africa are facing extreme hunger, some with areas already reaching... Ooh, hey, where'd it go? Catastrophic famine levels, according to the United Nations. The situation here is unfolding as a food crisis threatens a record number of people around the world, with nearly 345 million at acute levels of hunger and nearly 50 million on the brink of famine. We're on the way to a raging food catastrophe. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres tweeted recently, and that's just here. Again, should we fail to address this at all? This is just going to become the norm in a lot more places. It's not going to just be hundreds of millions. It's going to start reaching into the billions. This year's droughts and severe weather diminished or decimated crops around the world in parts of the United States, Europe, China, Australia, and the Indian subcontinent. The current emergency foreshadows what researchers call a multiple breadbasket failure, which will likely occur more often and with greater intensity. That's scary. That's really scary. That should be ringing all the alarm bells. A multiple breadbasket failure. In other words, in multiple areas that grow food for the rest of us, it will start getting harder and harder to grow food. Yeah. That's not disturbing, which will likely occur often and with greater intensity as the Earth's atmosphere warms up. Battered by more climate-induced weather shocks or chronic conditions like drought, the world's farmers are projected to produce less food in the coming decades as the global population rises towards 10 billion. There are other drivers of food insecurity, said Francisco Tubiello, a senior statistician at the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, but those related to climate change will increase and become more and more important. For decades, researchers have warned of the impacts, mostly negative, that climate change will have on the world's staple crops, but the recent spike in hunger and famine are revealing that the instability of a global food system that is ill-prepared for shocks, whether from war, pandemics, severe storms, or droughts. It's hard to look at the global agri-food system right now and say that this is working. Sheesh. That's not disturbing. A professor at the UCLA's Institution of Environment and Sustainability, putting climate disruptions on top of it just creates more stress. Yeah, no shit. The global food supply is dependent on 4 major grains and vast quantities of fertilizer. Most of this is controlled by a handful of corporations and exported by a few countries that dominate the production, which is a problem. Isn't famine mostly started because of the war in Ukraine? No. It's not just the war in Ukraine. While things like this exacerbate the situation, the war in Ukraine isn't fueling decades long droughts in the west of the United States that are causing crop failures. The war in Ukraine isn't causing crop failures in Central and South America. The war in Ukraine isn't causing like the massive droughts that we're talking about here in Africa. So yeah, it's not just that. Also, we're running out of red phosphorus, which is important to make fertilizer, and fertilizer is made with fossil fuels, which is even worse. Yeah, it's a problem. Ukraine was a breadbasket country, but the African food crisis is part of the global problem. Yes. Over decades, the movement of these grains and fertilizers across borders has created a vast globalized trade network, which many countries are dependent on a few. Grain traders, shippers, and speculators in this interconnected food economy often make big profits off disruptions in the market, driving up prices and putting food out of the reach for millions of the world's poor. Yeah, like on top of that, we like have literally decided that the best way to do this is to centralize our food supply into smaller and smaller companies that are in a handful of countries. In other words, our solution was to centralize this, which is, not a good thing. And all for profit too, which is like the biggest meme on top of everything. On top of the idea of like essentially, not a complete monopoly, but like what would be the term for like plutocracy? No, not a plutocracy. What's the word for like just a handful of corporations? An oligopoly. Thank you. Okay, that makes more sense. More sense. Let's see. Yeah. Oligopoly is the exact word that I'm looking for. This is the exact word. Thank you, Bipedal. This is the exact word. We've decided that the best course of action was to essentially allow an oligopoly to exist in the most one of the essentials. Because it turns out, and this is true, we need fucking food to live. So in our infinite wisdom, we've decided to surrender that to an oligopoly. Yeah, cool, good memes. I wish fossil fuels had never been used and just go straight to renewable. Man. Well, if only. If only. If only. We'd live in a steampunk era. That would be cool, wouldn't it? There's a concentration of crops, a concentration of countries, and a concentration of companies. Said Jennifer Clapp, Vice Chair of the high-level panel of experts in the UN Committee of Food, food security, then there's the fourth C in this equation, climate. With climate change, we're much more likely to see uncertainties and disruption. If anything happens to one of those crops, a global blight, or any of those countries has a disaster, like, a war, it can make global markets go crazy, and that creates high prices, which, like, that's kind of like a verdict on capitalism here, besides the point. But steampunk is bad. Everything runs on burning stuff. Never mind. Never mind then. A lot of coal usage. Super never mind. Yep. I wish we'd have just like moved into like a solar punk future. How about that? If we manage to convert most workers from factory to less polluting jobs, we would manage to stop, but it means less goods for consumers like you and me. Awesome. The price spike doesn't affect individuals. The UN's food doesn't just affect individuals. The UN's World Food Program, or WFP, the world's largest humanitarian organization, is facing major shortfalls with only about half of the money it needs to get food to millions of hungry and dying people. The prices organizations pay for food have risen 30% or more since the beginning of the year. The cascading effects of climate-related disasters are exposing an already strained humanitarian system that is unprepared to handle repeated or simultaneous disasters. These countries in the Horn of Africa may seem isolated, but from a food perspective, they're part of a global food system, said Liefeng Li, a director of the Land and Water Division at the FAO. The challenge they're facing is a challenge we're all facing, and it could happen to us. Yes. That's basically the point. Some experts believe that what's happening in the region could become the worst humanitarian disaster in a generation, despite all the improvements in early warning systems, the awareness raising from global rock concerts of the 80s. Ah, yes. And the quote, lessons learned from the famines of recent history. Clearly not. Interesting bit of trivia. We would have had water-fueled vehicles and primitive electric vehicles 110 years ago, but someone at the time had discovered diesel and they needed to find a use for it to cover the developmental costs. Yeah, I heard something similar. Like the actual concept of an electric car. The concept of an electric car is like what, 1905 or something like that. Hey, leftist best, how's it going? I think 1905 is when they started making the first initial concept. Even before that? That's like the one article that I remember reading was 1905. At least that's like the date that sticks in my head. With climate change, the system is at a breaking point, said Gernot Laganda, who leads the climate and disaster risk reduction efforts at the WFP. As the two-lane A3 road leads to north out of Nairobi, the city thins out into squat concrete apartment buildings and mega churches and pineapple farms and mango groves. Like most highways, it's lined with motoring essentials, gas stations for refueling, and quick-stop restaurants for truck operators. But as it heads to the into the arid north, the highway is as much a conduit for water as an artery for fossil fuels. On both sides of the road, donkeys' backs are piled with high with sun-bleached jugs, each filled with 20 liters of water. They carry the jugs along brick red dirt paths that line the highway on both sides in an endless slog to retrieve water from one place and bring it to another. Jesus. Where the Taya River intersects with the highway, there's a meandering beach, a winding course of sand that should be filled with water at this time of year. Instead, the heads of workers pop up from riverbeds and disappear into holes dug deep enough to reach the water table. Since the rains have failed, the river has disappeared, and it's difficult to fill the containers. said Abel. Chalo as he ladled water from a shallow pool of water the size of a serving platter. We used to draw 200 liters a day, and now it's not even possible to draw 50 in a day. Jesus. Yikes. The arid and semi-arid lands of Kenya begin roughly in the country's midsection and stretch north past its borders into Somalia, Ethiopia, and South Sudan. The green highlands of Nairobi with the electric purple flashes of jacaranda trees and lush gardens feel like another planet. The red earth here turns into an endless stretch of dune with thorny needle shrubs and flat-top acacias that seemingly stopped growing upward and resigning themselves to the wind over thousands of years. There are fewer and fewer donkeys as the road stretches north. Emerging from a brambly bush at the side of the road, Halima Ismail and her mother-in-law carry yellow water jugs and rolled blankets for their trek to a faraway watering hole. We used to use these donkeys to get water, but the donkeys have all died. Jesus. Yikes. Anyways, I think the illustration is becoming clear. Not the donkeys. Yeah, not only just the donkeys, unfortunately, my friend. Yeah, don't you love like when these folks love to just kind of prove themselves, right? Like they just prove themselves in front of everybody. They kind of show their arse. Commies need censorship. Remember, presumably, this is from a person, who is on the right. Otherwise, why would you say commies need censorship? And these are the same people who will often run, with the whole free speech arc, right? So at the end of the day, it's just hilarious and clear that the reality is none of you give a shit about freedom of speech when it comes when I'm talking about the right wing. You actually don't care about freedom of speech. Commies need banning? True. So much for the tolerant right. Anywho. The point is, tens of millions of people are suffering food shortages and food insecurity because of the climate emergency. And the fact that we're still conducting ourselves as business as usual is quite frankly not good. Quite frankly infuriating and depressing at the same time. The fact that like we're still having these like fossil fuel projects, the fact that we still have we still approving new coal in other countries, the fact that like even in 2022 the Biden administration, was it last year or was it I don't remember when, gave permits as well. Is absolutely infuriating. literally going against every single recommendation from the climate science community. And this is not just the US. But nonetheless, we should be at the front since we hold the title for largest historic emitter. We should be at the front of this, and yet nowhere near where we need to be at all. Very sad, very frustrating, very angering. And still, nothing changes. What gets me is most of it is just pissed away. The sheer inefficiency of this whole system is appalling, and actively hurting people could be so much wealthier with a bit of efficiency. Yeah, sure. I mean, like, even if you wanted to go that route, yeah. But nonetheless, like, the fact that we're in this position is incredibly infuriating, despite knowing about this for decades. Despite knowing about it for decades. All right, folks, we're going to switch gears a little bit here. Half a century at this point. Yep. Half a century, maybe even more. But we should have really known, like, where we were heading, decades ago. The warnings have been clear. We've had inklings. Even as the Industrial Revolution got underway, we had kind of like a notion of what the ramifications could be, even during the Industrial Revolution. It's just so sad that, like, most of what's stopping us is like greed and political will, but that goes hand in hand. I mean, London was basically zero visibility for a month thanks to the sheer amount of factories and they had set up, and could have noticed. Yeah, but like, even if, I mean, obviously, if you didn't even know like what the global implications are, like clearly the health implications were there for a while. I mean, yeah, it just sucks. This whole thing sucks. Before we switch gears here, from one crisis to another, yeah? If you guys have a moment and you want to support this channel, that doesn't involve, monetarily, that doesn't involve you supporting the channel monetarily, head on over to our YouTube channel. We're currently at 212 subscribers. So if you haven't done so already and you want to support this channel, just head on over to the YouTubes. All right, hit the red subscribe button, follow, like, whatever, comment, like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. And if you follow here on the Twitch, you get 5 free emotes, including including 2 Bakita the Cat emotes, one of which were made by a viewer of the channel. Look at that. There you go, Maple Leaf Dragon. Do you have a regular gig? Yes. Meaning like, yes, I do work. Which is kind of why I'm forced to be on the schedule that I am on. Which is I work morning to afternoon or morning to evening, and then I just switch on over. I don't see how smaller streamers can maintain. Well, it's hard. I can tell you. I can tell you. It's not easy. Yeah, you have to work. You have to work or have money. Yeah. And in this case, I work. Yes. The lucky ones have rich parents. Yeah, I did not win that lotto. Army of Lime. That being said, folks, I do appreciate all the support you guys give. You guys are phenomenal, and you guys are what makes this channel go. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Keep hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Keep hitting that follow button. And also, spread the word far and wide that this is the place to be Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, okay? That's also a good way. That's also a perfect way of helping. Bring a friend. How about that? Alright, folks. Switching gears from one crisis to another. Marjorie Taylor Greene has said some stuff. I think it's better if we just go through this here. The White House is sharply reacting to comments made over the weekend by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, and how the insurrection on January 6th might have gone if she had indeed been its ringleader. The Georgia Republican spoke Saturday at a dinner hosted by New York Young Republicans Club and recounted how her critics have incorrectly labeled her as an organizer of the insurrection that left one person shot dead and led to the deaths of 2 other police officers. Quote, this is her words. Quote, I want to tell you something. Here we go. Quote, I want to tell you something. If Steve Bannon and I had organized this, we've been talking about Steve Bannon and how dangerous this guy is. Since the beginning. Remember, this is also somebody who has been an inside advisor to Trump. Okay? And she's naming him. And Steve Bannon and I had organized this, we would have won. Not to mention, we would have been armed. Holy shit. Yikes. Yikes. Won what? The insurrection. So like we can toss out this idea that it wasn't a riot without the shadow of a doubt, because she's acknowledging that it is an insurrection. She's just saying that if she was if she and her and, you know, if she and people like Stephen Bannon, I should say, sorry, if people like Stephen Bannon and her would have been the ones to organize this, they would have won. The implication being that, yeah, it's without a shadow of a doubt an insurrection. This was an insurrection. This was an attempted insurrection, an attempted coup, and she's just saying that if she was in charge, that she would have won and she would have been armed. And you know what? Instead of like me reading an article, me talking shit, why don't we just listen to her? It's not about being humble. She's a domestic terrorist. This is inconceivable to me. This is inconceivable to me that this is even a thing. Like that alone should have been immediate expulsion from Congress. Immediate expulsion. But Republicans, of course, will not do anything because they actually are okay with this. They're actually completely fine with this. But again, don't take it from me. Let's just listen. Because Republicans, the reason why she didn't lose her job, it's because Republicans fundamentally don't care. They're okay with this. They want this. They're okay with this.
You can. And that's where we are right now. If you look at the time on the clock for America, it's almost midnight. It is, it's almost midnight. And it's a very serious time. And let me give you the political reality. While a lot of people are very upset.
Oh, she just read, she announced that it was sarcasm. Oh, let's see how sarcastic this is. Because there's video. So we'll see how sarcastic this is.
Upset that we only have 222 seats, Republican majority in the House of Representatives. After the past 2 years, let me tell you this. After the past 2 years,
is this the video?
Under misery under Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, and voting no solidly to Joe Biden and the Democrats' communist agenda.
Communist agenda.
I am fired up about 222 Republicans in the House. And I thank every donor, every voter, and everyone who worked
Is this
on the
it?
campaign. If you door knocked, whatever you did, I am grateful to you. Thank you. But we lost the Senate. We didn't pull it off in Georgia.
Elon got booed off stage. Classic. True, that was a good meme.
We turned out. My district turned out the most out of every single district in my state. But we don't have the Senate, and we don't have the White House. So starting in January, here's the political reality that we're all living in. Let me lay this out. Just this past week, we had 2 critical votes. We had the equality of
I don't care.
to get our Republican conference that's not in the majority yet to all vote the same way. Equality of Marriage Act, we had approximately, I think it was like 39 Republicans vote. And the NDAA, we had, myself included, 35 Republicans vote against the NDAA.
What? No, this isn't it. Where's the video? The New York Post. Oh my god, this sucks. Ugh. This isn't even her talking about the AOC wasn't mentioned in this video.
I'm very disappointed about that. I'm proud of my district though. We turned out.
Where's the video of her saying these things? That's what I want. Maybe we'll get someone down here. Because, like, as somebody pointed out, she said that it was, quote, sarcastic. I don't know. What's... Did she just admit that her district is a breeding ground for right-wing stochastic terrorism? I mean, how else did she get elected? No, meaning that the Republican Party is a huge problem, and they are in and of itself a crisis that this country is now having to deal with. So maybe I should be more clear. Can we get a video of this? I thought that Yeah, Schrodinger's asshole. If you get pushback, then just say it was a joke. Can somebody get video of this? She also criticized the ongoing U.S. funding for the war in Ukraine, called on Republicans to back former President Trump's 2024 campaign. In comments first shared with CBS News, the White House spokesperson Andrew Bates said it goes against our fundamental values as a country for a member of Congress to wish the carnage of January 6th have been even worse, and to boast that she would have succeeded in an armed insurrection against the U.S. government. This violent rhetoric is a slap in the face to Capitol Police, DC Metropolitan Police, and National Guard, and the families who's lost a loved one as a result of the attack on the Capitol. All leaders have a responsibility to condemn these dangerous and abhorrent remarks and stand up for our Constitution and rule of law. While the White House is pledged to work with Republicans set to control the House next year, it hasn't shirked from sharply criticizing those who participated in, supported, or defended the 2021 insurrection, or continue to say or do things that undermine American democracy. It has been especially quick to respond to Trump and his recent dinner with white supremacists, meaning fucking Nazis, or his comments suggesting that the U.S. Constitution should be terminated. Yeah, clearly. In the wake of the loss in 2020 to President Biden, in a statement later on Monday, this wasn't even like, yes, find me where she said this. Which video are you looking for? This one where she says, if we would have done it, if me and Stephen Bannon would have led this insurrection, we would have won and we would have been armed. If you can find, if anyone, whoever makes it first, if any of you can find it, that would be great. Yeah, the young Republicans. I think I may have found it. Okay, yeah, send it to me. Post it in chat. Republicans are moving towards a government takeover. Yeah, well, yes. But not like in a good way. None of this is good. If we find the exact video, that would be the icing on the cake for this segment. Toss the Constitution, violence, and whatever it takes. Yeah. These people don't believe in any time. These people don't believe in democratic norms. They know that they're unpopular. The only way to implement their agenda by default is through undemocratic methods. When the veiled, thinly veiled sense of pretending to care about going through the democratic ways and democratic systems, when that fails, we can see exactly what they will do. Given the fact that January 6th happened. Try RSBN and Lindell TV? No, I'm not going there. It's gotta be around. There's gotta be a clip somewhere. There's gotta be a clip somewhere. Jack Posobiec was also in that Republican dinner or speech, whatever. It would just be nice if we, well, what if I just, Google this? What was the event? New York Young Republican Gala. New York Young Gala speech? A constellation of far-right influencers mingled with members of Congress in New York City, where Republicans attendees were told to brace for total war. The group's annual gala in Manhattan on December 10th, 2 days ago, the president of the New York Young Republicans Club declared total war on the political left, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, whose reporters attended this gathering. We, quote, want to cross the Rubicon. We want total war. We must prepare to do battle in every arena, in the media, in the courtroom, at the ballot box, and in the streets. Yeah. Cool.
I swear in on January 3rd, I get accused of giving insurrection tours, which I thought was hilarious because I couldn't even find the bathroom in the Capitol. True story. Then January 6th happens, and next thing you know, I organized the whole thing along with Steve Bannon here. And I want to tell you something, if Steve Bannon and I had organized that, we would have won. Not to mention, it would have been armed.
And like they're cheering this shit. Rank and file Republicans are more and more believing that voting for Dems is literally voting for Satan, and some of those violence. Yeah, of course. They believe if you vote D, you're trying to destroy America when the exact opposite is true. Correct. Republicans are God and country, libs are country and people, whereas prefer just people over country. True. Right. The Marxist, communist, leftist, SJW, whatever, are destroying the country. True. We found it, folks. We found it.
See, that's the whole joke, isn't it? They say that whole thing was planned, and I'm like, are you kidding me? A bunch of conservatives, Second Amendment supporters went in the Capitol without guns, and they think that we organized that? I don't think so.
Like, she's trying to play it off as like some kind of like sarcastic comment, except it's not. Clearly, by the response from the crowd, it is not. And the fact that like the argument is like, oh, these are like pro Second Amendment, so like wouldn't it make sense that they came unarmed? My sister in Christ, the people who were just found guilty of sedition literally said they should have brought guns. They should have brought rifles and whatnot. And those same people that were found guilty of sedition had weapons caches stashed in nearby state, in a nearby state, I think Virginia. Yes, they did bring weapons. Yes, there were some of them that were armed. I like the fact that the few people cheered for the armed part. Yeah. They did bring guns and they were stopped. True, that's also a point. Yes, there were some that were armed, indeed. So the fact that like she's trying to make light of this, it's truly disturbing. And the fact that like people are completely fine with this, the fact that this didn't immediately get her yeeted off Congress is just wild to me. Like this has no place. No place anywhere in Congress. Elected members. She's not the only elected member in this gala that's done. And that's not even the worst part of it. Like I said, we've got people here, the president of this whole thing, talking about how you need to prepare for total war, up to and including in the streets. Thank goodness for Patriot Takes. Excellent, excellent, excellent account.
The whole thing was planned, and I'm like, are you kidding me? A bunch of conservative Second Amendment supporters went in the Capitol without guns, and they think that we organized that? I don't think so.
Yeah, because if I did, we would have won and we would have been armed. What? Yeah. I will successfully overthrow the government. Just elect me. True. That's the implication, essentially, what she's saying. Like, jokes or not, this is not okay. This is not okay. And, like, the fact that this wasn't even, like, the worst of it, kind of gives you like the full context of like what these people what the mindset is of these people, because literally they're talking about like total war, and not just like, oh, total war, like, you know, in the media or in the courtroom or whatever, in the streets too. Fuck you, piece of shit. Fuck you. Yeah, she's a walking Dunning-Kruger effect, true. MTG should be censored for months. She should be kicked out of Congress. She should be kicked out of Congress. Make me dab. Alright, I got you. Hold on, I'll do a proper dab. 1 second. There we go. That's a proper dab. Wait, what? No, hold on. There we go. Cops are Republicans. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with what I'm talking about, but okay. Yes, it is true. An overwhelming majority of cops are conservative. Yes. That dab is dedicated to the clown that just got banned. Yeah, fuck that guy. A cute animal video for the closer. All right. We'll do that. So yeah, this just gives you to provide more context as to the atmosphere. The atmosphere is clear. Okay, this is a case of like Schrodinger's asshole, where like, if you get called out on your shit, then it's just like sarcasm or it's just jokes. The GOP has no shame. True. As a cannabis advocate, your dabs make me sad. I'm sorry, Hambless. There's nothing wrong with cannabis dabs, like dabs. But GOP has no shame. A censor is an expression of strong disapproval or harsh criticism. Yeah, but like, that's not going to do anything. She needs to be removed. Period. In a parliamentary procedure, it is a debatable main notion that could be adopted by the majority vote. Among the forms it can take are stern rebuke, spiritual penalty imposed by the church. Yeah, none of this serves the purpose of none of this serves the purpose to address the problem here, to address the crisis that is the Republican Party here. She needs to, in a ideal situation, she would be removed from her position. Isn't it super dangerous to have cops support this party? What, the Republican Party? They should have training to at least make them more moderate. Well, there's a whole other world to unpack regarding that statement. There's a whole other world that would require like way more time to unpack like the problems with like the police and whatnot, that inevitably makes them the way they are. But the institution itself, like the police as an institution, generates this extremism, what you're talking about. Yes, it is dangerous. Yes, it is dangerous. But we're talking about a whole other problem. But yes, I agree with you. It is dangerous. It is a problem. Yes, Maple Leaf Dragon, cops are trained to be more extreme. It's part of like the whole problem with the institution itself. It produces these cops. It produces these outcomes. It makes them more likely. In fact, it happens because of that. Because of the way they are trained. Because of the institution as the police as it stands right now. Yeah, of course it's going to produce these outcomes. And yes, it is super dangerous. So, yes. Anyways, to give context as to the atmosphere, so what was going on here, we've got like the group's president telling the crowd to prepare for total war. Yeah. In a statement later after being called out, Marjorie Taylor Greene claimed that her comment was making fun of Joe Biden and the Democrats, who have continuously made me a political target since January 6th. Well, because you continue to engage in the behavior that enables this kind of shit. So yes, of course. The White House needs to learn how sarcasm works. I don't find any of this particularly sarcastic, especially when juxtaposed or when put with the whole entire vibe of the gala that you attended. You and several lawmakers attended, by the way. And like it's not even like the first time she's had like serious question marks, This is the same person who's like introduced Nick Fuentes, a fucking neo-Nazi, who's also, by the way, had a dinner with the president of the United States, ex-president of the United States, who's also running for re-election. I mean, like, yeah. And then like she named Steve Bannon, who's a close advisor, and huge supporter of the ex-president who's currently running for president. I mean, like, yeah, the red flags and the problems here are just way too many to name. Sarcasm is for disaffected teenagers. True. Nah, come on. Sarcasm when used right. The actual enemy on the ground in the U.S. for leftists is cops. We seldom deal directly with the military in the U.S. We have laws against deploying military domestically. True. Well, that's what you would, on paper, yes, that's true. Cops are effectively no longer public servants. They're government-backed local militias designed to protect property, not people. True. Yeah, I know. These people unironically think that the Democrats are kind of are some like satanic demon nonces who are, living off adrenochrome or whatever. This is the exact thought process. This is literally a death cult. And their continued call for violence, their continued like stochastic terrorism, that continues to embolden people to actually take action, like we've seen, is deeply disturbing. This is not a joke, and the fact that this person is a representative of Congress is deeply, deeply worrying. And there's more. She wasn't the only one there. The Republican Party, and this is a problem from local to state to federal. of the Republican Party. All right, folks, we got one more. Just a bit of an update. Judge dismisses the Trump case challenging the Mar-a-Lago document seizure after appeal court ends special master review. Trump takes another L. A federal judge on Monday dismissed former President Trump's lawsuit challenging the government's access to materials seized from his Mar-a-Lago resort, marking the formal end to Trump's month-long legal fight following the FBI's raid of his home. The judge's order came 4 days after Trump declined to appeal a higher court ruling that canceled the appointment of a special master to review the thousands of items taken by the federal agents during the August 8th deployment, the execution of a search warrant. Judge Eileen Cannon, a Trump appointee, signed a one-page order dismissing the case for lack of jurisdiction. The order filed in the U.S. District Court in West Palm Beach also terminates all hearings, deadlines, and motions that were still pending. That includes Trump's effort to obtain an unredacted version of the search warrant affidavit that was used to sanction this execution of a search warrant. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. A spokesperson for Trump did not immediately respond to CNBC's request for comment. Cannon in September had appointed retired federal judge Raymond Dearie as special master while she blocked the Justice Department from reviewing the seized material as part of the criminal investigation, which again, should be ringing some alarm bells here. This is a Trump appointed judge who essentially gave some breathing room here in favor of Trump. What is more disturbing is the lack of opposition. We're going to Weimar this. Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this for years, Hambliss. Maybe several of folks who have been here for a while. I've been talking about the Weimar vibes for quite some time. It's not good. It's not good at all. It's not good at all, and these people are getting more and more emboldened, and it's really disturbing. Mar-a-Lago raid turned up more than 100 documents bearing classified markings. The team hired by Trump found more records marked classified outside of the resort. Multiple outlets have recently reported last month Attorney General Merrick Garland named a special counsel to oversee an ongoing criminal probe into Trump's removal of hundreds of documents from the White House. A 3-judge panel in the U.S. Court of Appeals ruled on December 1st that Cannon should not have appointed the special master, right, and that she improperly exercised an expansion of her jurisdiction. Yeah, again, this is a judge who extended this a freebie to Trump, which is not how that's supposed to work. But okay, cool. Dismissal of the entire proceeding is required, read the opinion of the panel, which included 2 judges appointed by Trump. The law is clear. We cannot write a rule that allows any subject of a search warrant to block government investigations up to the execution of this warrant, nor can we write a rule that allows for only former presidents to do so. The panel gave former president 1 week to stay a stay of its ruling by filing an appeal to the full circuit or to the U.S. Supreme Court. Trump's attorney did not file an appeal. They already faced rejection from the Supreme Court as part of this case. The High Court in October batted away Trump's request to reverse a prior ruling from the 11th Circuit, which barred the special master from examining the classified documents. Yeah, all of this is just stall. But now it looks like good meme. But now that looks like it's gone. So which makes me think that all those documents will now be game for the federal investigators. Last week's ruling from the appeals court could clear a path for federal investigators to more quickly review thousands of items they had previously been blocked from accessing. Yep. So we will see if any of that produces any results, but that is an update. I have an idea to pass a law that turns all means testing into government oversight, basically saying we're not cheating, you are. Ha! That's funny. But yeah, that's where we're at on this one. All right, folks, we did it. And with enough time to spare for a cute animal video. Look at that. See if we can find a good one. Um, let's see. All right. Stop trying to get me to buy stuff. All right, cute animal video. Let's go.
Every dog she sees, she wants to hiss at. I gotta keep a close watch on her because she will chase a dog. She has the wind in her face, and she's quite curious. Her natural reaction is just to kind of sit there and watch what's going on. People often say, oh, is she really enjoying this? Or are you doing it as a gimmick or something? But she really does enjoy it. She likes to go to parks and watch birds. So it really works out well for her.
What do you think, Sigrid?
The noises don't bother her. By the time I got her, she was totally deaf. Nothing really like shocks her or surprises her. We've been basically all over London.
You can't go in there.
And we're up to 700 miles total for her career riding. Every time we get home from a bike ride, she'll relax.
Oh.
And then she goes to the window and yells. And then after about 15 minutes of whining and yelling, she'll settle down and then usually just pass out for the rest of the day. I basically spend every day with her.
After Snuggles, she demands to go out on bike rides.
Everyone wants to like see Sigrid's. My favorite part is just going around and seeing all the reactions from people.
Oh, Sigrid's here!
Yes!
She's like a little celebrity here.
Even prettier in person.
It's just nonstop people like stopping and turning and saying, oh my gosh, was that a cat?
Oh my goodness, you must get stopped all the time.
She's so used to meeting people now and getting petted that she tends to just come to more people. Consequence of fame, maybe, I don't know. The weather is very unpredictable in London. We were out having a normal ride. It really started pouring down. Siggy was just standing up and yelling, screaming at the rain. And I actually got her a rain jacket, so if we do get caught again, I think we'll be okay. She doesn't really nap when she's tired. She'll just have her head out and look around a little bit. Just knowing that I take her for a bike ride, every single person we see is going to have a slightly better day.
Well, how wonderful. You bring joy to our lives. Both of you. Thank you very much.
For me, that's a lot of fun.
What are you meowing about, huh?
That's cute.
She's my best friend.
All right, folks. Hey. Yes, no. Not buying whatever you're selling me. Sorry. We did it. Before we go, I'm gonna set up a quick thing. Thanks. No, thank you. Appreciate that. Give me 1 second, guys, and I'll be right back. It'll just take 5 seconds, I promise. Yes, cute animal video in real time. Damn. How did you know? How did you know? Alright, folks. As we get ready to sign off, folks, don't forget, if you guys enjoy the content, please make sure on your way out you hit the follow button. It really does help us out. You get 5 free emotes. I appreciate that. And head on over to our YouTube channel. Hit the big red subscribe button. Spread the word far and wide. We are here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I appreciate all the support you guys have given. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Thank you so much for the biddies and the subscriptions. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I really do. You guys are what makes this channel grow, as always. Folks, please stay safe. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me do this proper. I can't say goodbye to you guys like that. Folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. Look at that. We'll sign off with Buddy the Cat. That is Buddy the Cat taking a nap. Alright, folks. We are heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya. Yeah, Kitty frozen in time, just having the nap of his lifetime. He's been sleeping this entire time, by the way. This entire stream, he's just been sleeping. See ya.